Hey there folks, it's Phoebe with Shrubsteppe Blooms. We're starting to get some nice autumnal weather and cool mornings, and I'm very excited for it. Autumn is my favorite season. But this video is going to be about plants that you don't have to plant twice, aka if you let them go to seed, you'll kind of have them forever unless you're really diligent about roguing them out. This is the flower edition, so this right here is a Amaranth, and it's a descendant of the hot biscuits variety. Because I saved seeds off of it a couple years ago, replanted some saved seeds, and now I just have this patch of different kinds of amaranth. This is probably mostly red spike or something like that, and this hot biscuits. So that's one that if you plant it once and let it go to seed, you'll have it forever. Sunflowers are a prime candidate for the plant it once category of flowers. These that we're looking at here, I did not plant this year, they just volunteered. And they'll just keep doing that all over the place. I've pulled out hundreds and hundreds of volunteer sunflowers, and there's still many left for the bees and the birds and all the critters that enjoy them so much. So sunflowers is definitely one where if you let it go to seed, you will have it for a long time. Plus you'll feed a lot of different little critters if that's something you're looking for in your space. Our next candidate for things you never have to plant twice is these mini marigolds. This one is probably a descendant of a variety called French brocade or something like that. It's very bright and beautiful, and you can actually use it as cuts, so you can take like a whole stem off here, and they're pretty brittle, so let's see if we can just pop one off here. Clean it up, and then you've got a nice filler for flowers. It's not why I grew it. I grew it as companion plants, and then here it's choking the peppers, even though I've pulled hundreds of them out. And look, there's more amaranth and more sunflowers. So 3 examples in one shot. These are great for bees and supposedly for nematodes, or like repelling nematodes in the soil. So I planted them on purpose, and I probably never need to do that again. This here is a battered wall of rudbeckia that all volunteered. So there's 2 kinds. This is probably primarily some sort of cultivar of Rudbeckia hirta, and then this guy back here, the little kind of more wildflowery style, is Rudbeckia triloba, I believe. And I didn't plant any of these on purpose, so I had Rudbeckia here last year. Was it even last year or 2 years ago? It seeded itself, and here we have a whole patch. So I'm actually going to pick some of this today because it's looking mighty fine, and it's a nice kind of whimsical element in the bouquets. But yeah, here's another one, Rudbeckia. And if I had shorn these down, I probably could have gotten a second flesh off of them, but I've been a little busy, so I haven't done that. And these will probably come out, and I will be planting yarrow in this bed, is the plan right now. But that's another flower that you can plant once, let it go to seed, and it'll be here forever. And this is what a dried out seed head looks like. And I tend not to pick the seed heads off in the fall because I want the birds to have lots to eat through the winter, which is how partially everything gets distributed around. I've talked about this one a lot. This is a rapidly aging patch of bells of Ireland. Theoretically, you could probably get a few cuts out of here still. This is where Ava has been finding voles on and off for the last 6 months, so she's very invested in investigating this patch. But bells of Ireland, I planted some in this area 2 years ago. I let them reseed last year, and I let them reseed and do their thing this year. And I've got a massive patch. It's significantly more than I can ever use, so I really need to be a little bit more on top of clearing it out. But bells of Ireland is one that can reseed and volunteer all on its own and does a lot better than when you transplant it. So it's one that you can direct seed just in general. So here you go. Just let nature do its thing, as long as you're willing to give up like a 10-foot patch of a bed. Because you refuse to pull them out because you're too soft-hearted like me. Here, floating above, and you can see it back there, above this, a different bed of Rudbeckia that kind of appeared on its own, is a plant that's commonly called sneezeweed, but I think that's an awful name. It's Helenium autumnale, and I planted maybe 2 of these plants at one point somewhere. And now if we can pan around a little bit, you can see they're massive. They're a wetland plant, so since they're getting irrigated here, they are just loving life. And I kid you not, there's some that are over the top of my head, so let's say 5.5 feet or more tall. I have been picking them. This is just far too large to put into a bouquet, but they do make smaller side sprays that are nice to put in a little bouquet and add a little bit of whimsy to it. So that's another one that you can just let go to seed, and if you have enough water, it will reappear over and over again. Another candidate for sow it once, grow it forever is ammi. So this is a green seed head, and you can see this is one seed head. It's not even the primary flower that came out. That would be this one back here. So this was the kind of apical flower that bloomed first. Look how many seeds are on there. This is in the carrot family, so it's making hundreds, if not thousands of seeds. There's probably hundreds of seeds just in this one seed head, right? So extrapolate that across several plants, and then you might get a whole patch of ammi that volunteers, which is great because sometimes I don't get things seeded in time to do it manually myself. Another one that you can sow once, let go to seed, and have it forever is cosmos. And I've only got a little patch here. I've been doing a slightly better job of roguing out some of these things. That just means pulling it out because, again, this is supposed to be peppers. The alyssum, that white stuff, I did plant on purpose. I planted far too much of it. So there's lessons learned for next year. But at some point there must have been cosmos growing over here because now we've got a whole little patch of them coming in, and that's even after I pulled some of them out. But there's a nice Picotee type one down here. A superb couple additions are clarkia, which is this here. It's sometimes also called elkhorn, or there's many different common names for it. Clarkia is the genus. And I think this is maybe technically clarkia now too. I thought it was godetia. It might be just some genetic stuff. There's a little, I thought I said a bee in there, darn. But both of these completely volunteered all on their own, so you can see these prolifically produce seed. This is one capsule, and it already busted a bunch of seed out from that clarkia plant, and there's already 5 or 10 seeds still in there. And you can imagine all of those little pods on there popping open, dispersing seed. It is really excellent at coming back year to year. Another one that will come back over and over is calendula. So this is where I had my calendula last year. When it got towards the end of the season, I stopped picking and just let all the seeds do their thing. And what is supposed to be a feverfew patch down in here, we can see the plants I planted this year, is a calendula patch. So I've been pulling these by the hundreds, and there's still hundreds more to pull. But if you really love calendula and have a place to dedicate towards them, there you go. There's a great way. Just drop some seed on the ground and it will probably grow. This right here is clearly past its prime, but this is bachelor's button. It looked glorious, 2 months ago in late summer, or late spring rather, early summer. And it's at a stage now where you can collect seeds, so you'd find these nice dry seed heads, especially ones that look like this in my experience, tend to be a little bit more full of seed. And you could kind of scrub the seed out and save seed for next year if you're so inclined. Once again, I have plenty in the house, so I don't need to collect any more or save any more. But it is another one where I planted it on purpose somewhere over there like 2 years ago, and now it just comes back year to year. And it's one that's really cold hardy, so you could plant it in the fall and have it over winter, even down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit here. So that's bachelor's button. This is clearly a different day because I came back to look for some other examples. One of them is nicotiana. So nicotiana I've planted the last couple years, and this is probably where they were last year because they are just abundant all over the place. But nicotiana has really cool tubular flowers. It's in the tobacco family, so it's got that sticky stuff going on the stems and bracts and leaves and all that stuff. And hummingbirds really like this. So these plants can get really massive, and I've had just a ton of them come back year to year. So this is another one you could plant, let go to seed, and have for a very long time into the future. So there you have it. Different flower plants you could plant once, let them go to seed, just a few of them that you like, and have them in perpetuity. And this is all said with the caveat that we live and grow in zone 6B, 7A, which gets down to 0 to -5 degrees Fahrenheit, theoretically, in the winter. And we are in a dry climate, so everything is on irrigation. So you can see in the pathways, there's not as much growing as there is in the places where there's irrigation lines down in there. And Ava is really certain she's found something in the pepper row. But that is plants you can grow once and have them forever.